Hi, my name is Rhonda. I am a 2-year colon cancer survivor. I have had quite a journey with this, as everyone with cancer does, and I just want to tell you a little bit about mine. In March of 2017, I started feeling sick. A lot of gastric stuff, sick to my stomach, those types of things. I went to my doctor and I thought, okay, I probably should call because previously I had had a colon screening when I was 52. So I called and I said, my doctor died. My doctor's office has got closed up. So she said, let's get you in here. She said, yeah, you're going to go to a gastro. And so I was walking out the door and she said, wait a minute, have you eaten at any places lately, any restaurants? And I said, well, yeah, I go across the street and get a salad from school. I was a school teacher. So she said, yes. It turned out I had E. coli. She said, I'm still going to send you to a gastro anyway. I said, okay, that's great. So I took my medicine. I went in to see him. He said, that's probably the problem. He said, you know, that happens when you have E. coli and everything will settle down. So we went in, I got prepared. We did the colon screening. And when I woke up, he said, you had a lot of polyps, but everything looked fine. So I said, okay, that's great. So it was the last day of school. After about 15 minutes after the bell had rung for the summer, I got a phone call and it was him. And he said, most of your pathology was good. I said, most. And he said, you have a large polyp that I removed that was classified as abnormal cells. He said, now it's all clean around it, but he said, I want to go back in. He said, I want to clean up around it some more and tattoo the area. So we went in and I did that. And the protocol was go back in 1 year. And then after 1 year, if everything was good, go back in 2 years. So I did 1 year. That was great. And the 2 year was coming up and COVID struck when everything was just shutting down. I got my notice from them and they said, are you having any symptoms? Are you having anything? I said, no, I'm not. And they said, even though you are a priority with a previous problem, she said, we will have to wait a little while. So I went in, but I talked to the doctor. He had decided that it was okay. When they opened back up for colonoscopies and electives, I went in and I woke up and she said, the doctor will be in to see you in a few minutes. And so he came in and I looked at his face and he leaned up against the wall and he said, do you want me to have your husband come in? I said, my husband is out in the car because nobody could come in during COVID. And I said, my husband is out in the car with our son. I have an adult son who is high functioning autism. He is classified as Asperger's. So he was with him. I did not want him in there to hear this because I already knew. I said, I know that's cancer. And he said, it's in the same place. And he showed me the pictures. And I said, how is it in the same place? And he said, I don't know. He was as surprised as I was. So he got me in the next day to have a PET scan. A PET scan said that it looked like I had something that they had detected on my liver. So I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, you know what? I've got my son, I've got my family. My father lives with us. My mom is gone and he's aging. He's 91 now. So I'm thinking, I can't die. So they took me in. They did the screening, and they had another doctor read it, and he said, "I want you to have a scan, a PET scan with contrast." So I did, and there was nothing on my liver. So that was very fortunate. And I found that out on July 30th, my 61st birthday. So I had surgery right away. I went in and they had me scheduled for a a bowel resection. And I was seeing another doctor. This was all in a period of 4 days. And I thought about cancer center. And so I had called and left a message. And the surgeon that I had was a colorectal surgeon. And he said, we need to do this right away. There are two large tumors, 2 centimeters apart. And I said, oh, that's really weird. So anyway, I went in at 4 o'clock in the morning at the hospital. I was prepped. I had surgery. My husband could see me when I was back in recovery. And then he had to leave. I was taken to a floor and I spent 24 hours there. I did well. I was sitting up, I was walking around. I didn't have to have any bag or anything. It was a robotic surgery. So I have about a thing about this long on my stomach and three little pokey holes. So everything was clean and clear. They sent me home. The next day, I could eat and drink a little bit, and I went home. So I did have an incident where I did have an obstruction a few days later, and then I had to go back into the hospital and just take fluids and medications. And so I was fine. I got over that. And then we got ready to do the chemo. They called me and told me that I did have stage 3B, which means it was in the lymph nodes outside of the bowel, but regionally they were not spread throughout. We didn't find anything else, but 5 of the 25 of them had high grade cancer. So we got arrangements to start getting everything done. I got my port put in. And at that time, I went to another cancer treatment center. And that all I can say was that was so, so hard. It was, I was sick, I was scared, I was everything. And you were in a room with 9 other people sitting in recliners, looking at each other, taking chemo. That's nobody could come in with you. Um, and it was really kind of rough because they do this the first time. I don't really know what to expect, even though I've been walked through it. I got really sick from the chemo, like boom, right off the bat. And I stood up, I was dizzy, I couldn't touch anything cold, I couldn't breathe for a few minutes. I was panting. So anyway, that was from that. It all settled down. And I went back again and they did one more chemo. And I got so sick and I kept falling down from it. So it was horrible. And they said, we may have to suspend your chemo and just give you oral meds. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? I have to have this. So I called cancer treatment centers because I wasn't taking anything for a couple of weeks because I was sick from it. And I talked to a wonderful doctor, Dr. Lynch, talked to him for 2 hours on the phone, on the Zoom, and we had the best conversation, he, my husband, and I. And he talked to my husband for about a half an hour, just about himself, the what he was doing, how he was feeling, what their plan for me was. And he talked directly to me also. But I mean, he just spoke to my husband and acknowledged, you are part of this. So we went in 2 days later. I saw the oncologist, and all that was really done was they tweaked my chemo a little bit. They gave me more pre-meds, um, and they slowed my drip way down. I spent 7.5 hours in a chair when I got my chemo, and I did great. I mean, I still had the effects of the chemo that I took, which was the sensitivity to cold, the nausea and stuff, gave me different things for that. and I've done great. I've done great with it. So they also had the new part of my team was, which I was so thrilled about, was a naturopath. They gave me vitamins, supplements that will help. They gave me things for my nausea and just made some things, simple things to eat. And so I did great. I'm not going to tell you I was up jogging or anything. I wasn't. I could not go back to work when they opened the schools back up. Um, I got very tired, and I felt, floppy, just floppy for an extra word that nobody understands, but just that's what I felt like. Just like I just didn't really want to do a whole lot, or like I couldn't do a whole lot. I do some stuff in the kitchen. I'd sit down and fall asleep on the couch. So I did that for quite a while. My husband took a leave from work, and he stayed with me, and the people at work that where he works, he's been there 20 years. They told him, anytime you need to be off, tell us when she goes back in, we'll have you there. And they just kind of kept him around home. So I was so grateful for that. He was here every day, and it just took so much off of my brain to know that my son was okay, which he would have been, but mom's worried. And he took care of the things that my father needed, taking him to wherever he needed to go. Um, he and my very best friend from life came over, and they would, stay if he needed to go somewhere. She'd stay here with me, and so that worked really well. And there were other people, but you still had to limit who could come near you during COVID, and certainly while you're on chemo. So it was kind of a small little group, which was fine. And it was wonderful. Chemo came. Everybody was so sweet there. And they had always been upstairs when you go in and have your infusions. They make sure you're comfortable, that my husband's comfortable. They're bringing him a warm blanket in case he wants it. The nice TV in this private little area was for him. So I'd watch whatever he was watching until I would conk out. I would actually feel so well, I would conk out. So when it came time to leave, I had no idea that they had done it. They had a certificate for me and sang me the Happy Into Chemo song, and everybody was clapping. I rang the bell, and I was happy. But as soon as I rang that bell, I started crying. I thought, this is how far I have made it. In 9 months, I'm ringing this bell. I don't have to have chemo anymore. And I just came apart. So they're singing to me, and they're all clapping, and I'm crying. And my husband was laughing at me when I got in the car. He says, I said, you're laughing at me. Why are you laughing at me? He says, I'm not laughing at you. He said, I am so happy for you. And he said, I am so proud of you. He said, you have come here, and he said, you have immersed yourself in this community. I just kept thinking, whatever I have to do to get through this, it will continue my life. So that's all I had on my mind every day was, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to do this. I never missed a treatment or anything again after they got me all settled down over there. I will be in 2 months. I will go in for another scan, my 6-month scan, and I fully expect it to be good too. I hope it is. But I am so grateful to Cancer Treatment Centers, City of Hope. And I am grateful for all of the things, big and small, the doctors, the medication, the ability that they have to care for me and restore me back to health. I believe that those help you as much as the medication. I really do. The attitude, the kindness, the care, that you are not just a sick person, you're a person. So I've loved it sounds ridiculous. I love going there. I love walking into that building.